Today we're going to be doing something super cool that I just love. We're unboxing a brand new piece of tech. This one is the Nikon Coolpix P950 Super Zoom Bridge Camera. And I've been really looking forward to getting this box, and I can't wait to open it. So hang out with me, we're going to take a look at what's inside this box, and that's coming up right now, right here on Tech Talk. Alright, so before we dig into this Coolpix P950 box, I'd like to have a little bit of a conversation about why I bought this camera. For a lot of folks, cameras like this, which are known as bridge cameras or super zoom bridge cameras, they seem to be sort of yesterday's news. They used to have all kinds of them out there in the field. Manufacturers are building tons of them. They were super popular, but in more recent years, they've kind of gone the way of the dodo. In fact, there's only two cameras that compete with this particular one right now that are widely available. And that is the Panasonic Lumix FZ80D and the Canon PowerShot SX70HS. But of the three available super zoom cameras that we have now, this one is really the king of the hill. It's got the best optics, the best image quality. It's got a whole lot going for it that the other two just kind of fall a little bit short on. So that's why I'm kind of excited to open this, is because these cameras are disappearing. And I really wanted to get this while I still can, because I noticed that even some of the super zoom cameras like Nikon's own P1100 that supposedly are available, they're super hard to find. And when you can find them, they're nowhere near MSRP. So I was glad to pick this up. I can't wait to open it up. But for a lot of folks, a camera like this, they say, well, why would you buy something like that? Because it has a small sensor. And you're right, this is a 1/2.3-inch sensor. It's the same size sensor you'll find in a lot of cell phones. But that small sensor in a bridge camera like this allows you to do something you can't do in a larger sensor camera like an APS-C or a full-frame sensored camera. And that is, you can have a fairly compact camera body that houses a huge zoom lens. Now the lens on this P950, it has a full-frame equivalent range of 24 millimeters all the way to 2000 millimeters, an 83 times zoom. Now that is just a crazy amount of zoom. And why that's important, especially for somebody like me, I love photographing wildlife. When you're photographing wildlife, you need a lot of zoom because typically you're not getting up close and personal. I don't really want to have to take a picture of a bear from 10 feet away. It's just not my kind of thing. I'd rather do that from a good, quarter mile back. So if you're like me and you can't spend, $10,000 on your hobby to buy a lot of really exotic wildlife lenses and a full frame camera, and if you're also like me, you don't want to haul around a whole lot of lenses and accessories and everything else that weigh you down and require a big bag and you're kind of worried about because of the expense, these super zoom bridge cameras are really the only way you can participate in wildlife photography. You need something like this. This one cost me $949 Canadian. I think it was $50 off from the usual price. But really, like I say, this produces, it's not going to give you National Geographic quality photographs where you can use this as a professional photographer. But for a hobbyist that wants to shoot wildlife, these are awesome. It doesn't break the bank. It's a single package you can carry around with you. It'll take all the lenses or all the filters and whatnot that you want to use. So it's a really great option for the hobbyist. And I'm really sad that these cameras are disappearing from the marketplace, but I'm glad I got one. Because my suspicion is, just like the P1000 that came before this, I think what's going to happen is Nikon's only going to produce a few of these. They're going to get snapped up, and then after that, the price to buy a used one is going to exceed the cost of new ones. We're seeing that with a lot of compact cameras now because they are becoming popular again, and manufacturers just aren't making them. So I think this is going to prove to be a good buy, and I'm glad I got it. So let's take a look at what's inside the box. That's a little bit of rationale about why I bought this particular camera, even though for a lot of people they may think, oh, well, that's not a great camera. For me, it's awesome. So let's take a look. So opening the top of the box, the first thing that we have is a 1-year limited warranty, a Nikon SnapBridge connection guide, and a user manual. Okay, well this looks kind of neat. Let's start off with the small stuff because I like doing that. And I love unpacking stuff like this. It brings me great joy when I get a new gadget. And just to be super clear, I'm a super small YouTuber. I do not get endorsement deals. I do not get freebies. So not only did I pay for this out of my own pocket, but I had to sell like 3 cameras and 2 or 3 lenses that I actually really liked but didn't use as much. So I could afford this and I could afford another video camera. So buying this had a real cost for me because I gave up some cameras that I was really quite fond of. But anyway, so you get a really nice Nikon neck strap with this camera, so that's kind of nice. One thing that Nikon includes here that so many other manufacturers aren't including anymore is an actual power brick for recharging your camera. So this plugs into the wall. There's a USB cable in here somewhere. You put the battery in the camera, you plug the camera in via the USB cable, and that's how you charge your battery. There's not a separate charger. I prefer a separate external charger myself, but at least it's nice to see it. They give you the battery or the power brick. That's kind of nice. Now in this box of accessories, we've got our battery. We've got our USB cable, and this is a micro USB cable. This camera came out in January of 2020 and it hasn't been updated to USB-C standards. That's a little bit unfortunate, but you do get a micro USB cable, so I'm not going to beat them up over that. And then in here, include a nice lens hood to go with the camera, so that's nice as well. Now I think that leaves us with the camera. And that's about it. So we're going to get the box out of the way. Let's take a look what this camera looks like. Okay. Oh wow, that is really nice. So there it is, the Nikon P950. Okay, so you can tell this is not what I would consider a compact camera. Let me give you some examples comparing. Just so you can sort of see the size difference. This is much more like either a large mirrorless camera or a DSLR. It's not particularly heavy because it's made with fairly lightweight material, especially the lens isn't that heavy. It doesn't feel like there's, like it's not, you'd think given the length of the barrel it'd be very forward heavy, but it's not. The body is actually the heaviest part of it. But let's compare it. Like this is my compact Lumix TZ95D that I got not too long ago. So you can see that even if you took the lens off of here, the body is still much bigger than the TZ95. This has I believe it's a 24 to 720 millimeter lens, so it's a 30 times zoom. So this has got a big zoom lens in it as well. It's still a 1/2 inch class sensor, but way, way smaller, of course, than this one. And of course, the extra size of this camera is pretty much solely to fit in that huge zoom that goes all the way out to 2000 millimeters. Now, this is my EOS M5 mirrorless camera. And looking at the top, you can see that the Nikon is way bigger than that mirrorless even. So it kind of gives you an idea of the size. This isn't a pocket camera by any means. It's not a camera that's going to really simply fit into a coat pocket. So although they advertise this as being suitable for travel, no, I don't think I would travel with it. It's a big bulky camera, but for what I'm going to use it for, I'm largely using it near where I live or on road trips, and largely for the purpose of taking wildlife photos. The other thing this camera is really, really good at, and where the small sensor is helpful, is actually with macro photography. If I remember right, the focusing distance from the front of the lens on this camera is 1 centimeter. So you can get really good macro photos in there, and that small sensor helps with depth of field when you're shooting macro. So that's kind of nice as well. On the back, we've got a screen. I think it's a 3-inch or 3.2 inch screen, something like that. It is articulating. And I insist on this. It's the one competitor of this camera, the Panasonic Lumix FZ80D. The one thing that totally turned me off of it was it's got a fixed screen in the back. The days of fixed screen are over. Like, I don't know why you'd be trying to sell a camera in 2025 that still has a fixed screen, but it does. And that camera also doesn't have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. This has both. So that's one of the reasons the Lumix just isn't in the same class as this camera. As you can see on the back, there's all kinds of manual controls. Manual controls on top, your usual, you know, for program, shutter, aperture, priority, manual mode, your scene modes, another dial for various functions here. You've got a zoom switch here, you've got a zoom rocker on the side of the lens. This is a programmable wheel as well that you can program for different functions to suit your needs. So overall, it is a little bit bulkier than what I had counted on. Well, I shouldn't say that. I knew it was going to be a bulky camera. It's a little bit bulkier than what I'm used to, so it's going to take some getting used to, but I think for what I'm going to use it for, this is going to be a great camera, and I'm really looking forward to shooting with it. So if you were curious about what these cameras look like, now you've got an idea what they look like coming out of the box. I'm going to get this thing charged up. I got a couple extra batteries for it as well. In the next couple of days, I'm going to take it out in the field, and I'm going to bring you with me, and we're going to see how this thing performs and take a look at some of the pictures it takes. So if you're interested in shooting wildlife photography, or if you're doing landscapes or anything that requires a whole lot of zoom, and you don't want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment, and you don't want to have to drag around 40 or 50 pieces of equipment to get the job done, this might be a camera that'll make you happy. No, it's not going to give you professional grade photographs, but it will let you get out in the field. It'll let you take those pictures. It'll give you an excuse to get out to your local park or wilderness area, and it'll give you something to do while you're there. It might just be the camera for you. You'll be surprised how much fun you can have with this. I will put a link for this camera down below if you're interested in taking a closer look at it or making a purchase. Again, I'm Graham Hughes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.